Hello there folks, it is TIJ Gaming. Welcome back to another Football Manager 2021 team guide. Today, it is the turn of the villains, Aston Villa, a club who got back into the Premier League, of course, a couple of years ago now. They came back up in the 2018-19 season and just about scraped to stay in the league last year. Of course, that Bournemouth and Sheffield United game was pretty famous for deciding whether Villa stayed up. But at the end, I think they were good enough to stay up. They've got some decent players and they've really expanded on that this year. And they've started pretty well in the Premier League. It seems like it's started to get a little bit poorer now. The form has definitely dropped, but they're a side that definitely could challenge the top 10. They're a solid side. They've brought in some really good players. I think that Ross Barkley particularly makes that front 3 or 4 really special. And obviously Jack Grealish being one of the most important players. Ollie Watkins up front. They've got some really solid players. So an interesting one to start with, Aston Villa. And one you can certainly build with into the future. I know my good friend Captain Goodspeed is doing the Sir Alex Ferguson challenge. He started with Aston Villa and he's doing a really good job. So make sure you go and check out his content. But these team guides are really for those of you who may be inexperienced at Football Manager, aren't maybe sure where to start with Aston Villa. I'm not really going to bring anything new to the table in terms of new ideas. But these videos are generally 10 or 15 minutes just to talk about if I was starting with Aston Villa, what I would do. So we're going to go for a few of the elements, the likes of the club vision, the new players that have come to the club, the current dynamic situation, the tactic I'd recommend, and any youngsters to watch in the future. So let's get straight into it with the club vision. Now, there are 5 elements, 5 objectives in the club culture, and crucially, you can see that their importance aren't really too important. So if you don't do any of these, as long as you're doing well, the club aren't really going to be too fussed. So a few signing objectives, so don't sign players over the age of 28 and sign players under the age of 23 for the first team. Again, that's pretty easy. If you want to sign young players, I would recommend that if you are new to FM, go to responsibilities, transfers and contracts and probably get your director of football, Johan Lange, to find and sign young players for the future, albeit maybe not for the first team, as it says here, but there are players that will develop to get into the first team. So I'd argue that kind of meets that objective. The club want you to play attacking and entertaining football, which might be a bit of a risk the first few seasons. Again, you want to make sure Villa don't get second season syndrome. You want to be careful of that, but it should be okay to do. Again, as I've said, these are preferred or favoured. So if you are a defensive manager and want to play like that, the club aren't going to be too fussed as long as you do well. And then developing players using the club's youth system, which we'll talk about a little bit later when we look at the development centre near the end of the video. So 2 ongoing objectives in the 5-year plan, and that is to sign players that will appreciate in value before selling them for a profit. Again, for a club like Villa, that's not too bad. If you sign a player cheap, he does well, then the big clubs come knocking and generally they'll sell for a profit. But that might become a bit harder if you start to do really well. And I guess you're signing players that befit the reputation, if you like. But a requirement is to work within the wage budget. That's the same for every Premier League club. You've got £55,000 a week in wages to work on, so you've got a fairly low transfer budget to start with of £2.5 million, but you have got £55,000 a week. So bear in mind that this figure here doesn't go below what this figure is. So if this figure, the 1282, goes to 1340, for example, then you are overspending by £3,000 a week. And I know it doesn't sound like much. That's £150,000 a year, which is a deficit to the club. In terms of the current season then, the club want you to finish mid-table. As I said before, really, that's where Villa should be expecting to finish. At the end of the day, they've spent over £70 million this summer, and I think that the board quite rightly should feel entitled to have a mid-table finish. I think that's definitely an expectation you should be able to meet. Again, that's a required expectation, so if you don't get that, you might be out the door. Secondly, the biggest domestic cup, the FA Cup, they want you to reach the 5th round, which is the last 16. That is tough, given that that's a requirement. Aston Villa, they've done quite well in the past, I think, in the FA Cup. I think they've certainly won it in the past. Let's have a quick butchers here. Competitions, FA Cup, there you go, won 7 times, albeit not since 1957, but they did play against Arsenal in the 2015 final. They were the runner-up in the Carabao Cup in 2020. Really? I can't remember that. Let's go have a check. Let's have a butchers at this. They were in the final. I don't remember that. Well, I have to say, I genuinely don't remember Man City playing Villa in the Carabao Cup last year. God, I must be getting really forgetful. Of course, How can I forget they'll beat Liverpool, didn't they, in the quarter-final then when it beat Leicester? That's right. So yeah, that is right. Goodness me. Unbelievable to think. But finally, the EFL Cup. They want you to reach the 4th round, which is the last 16 again, I think. The last 32, I think, is... just check. Yeah, the 4th round is the last 16. So the last 16 of both of these competitions. But the EFL Cup isn't so important. If you don't reach that, the club aren't going to be too bothered. But if you don't get to the 5th round of the FA Cup, then that might be a problem. But equally, if you overachieve in the league, you can compensate. And I suppose the same goes for the FA Cup. If you win the FA Cup, for example, and maybe finish 14th, 15th, the club aren't going to be too bothered. But work out your priorities as you go on. But out of the 3 competitions, the EFL Cup is really the least important. And then in the next 5 years, just work towards becoming an established Premier League team, finishing mid-table every year. And then in the 5th year, become an established Premier League team, which Aston Villa were 10-15 years ago before that shocking season in 15-16, where they finished right at the bottom of the table. So in terms of new players, I've said that Villa have spent over 70 million this year. So let's have a look at what they have indeed spent that on. Scott Hogan's gone to Birmingham for 950k. They're signing for 11 million. That is criminal. Wow. Bertrand Traoré is coming from Lyon for 16.75 million. The former Chelsea player, of course, who went to Lyon, and Lyon have effectively doubled their money. They'll be quite happy with that. But a normal start and an important player for the Villa is Bertrand Traoré. Right winger, can also play up front. He's really going to be first or second choice at right wing, I'd say, because Grealish is more of a left winger. Ross Barkley is more of a central midfielder. And we'll talk about Ross Barkley now, a player who's only come off loan for Chelsea. And goodness me, if you can sign this man at the end of the year, do it. I don't think there's no future fee, unfortunately, in the contract here. But Ross Barkley is a real solid player. There's no doubt about that. Can play either in central midfield or central attacking midfield. He is a big coup for Aston Villa. If you can get him on a full-time contract at the end of the year, that would be amazing. Emiliano Martinez has also signed from Arsenal. He's going to be your first choice ahead of Tom Heaton now. I feel like Arsenal shouldn't have really sold him. He's been at Arsenal for a long time. Finally got a few appearances last year and really impressed. So a good signing for the Villa. Ollie Watkins is coming from Brentford for a very steep £28 million. He's more of a striker, really, I'd say, than a left winger. Here again, he's going to be your first choice up front, I think, really. If you look, you've got Bertrand Traoré and Watkins. Traoré's a right winger, so automatically Watkins goes into that first choice. And Wesley, you've got there. He's probably your second choice up front. Matty Cash is also coming for 14 million. He's a right back and also playing the right midfield. But generally these days, the tactics that are used incorporate this attacking midfielder rather than just a standard right midfielder. But good player. I feel like they probably paid over the odds for him, but you might disagree. Let me know if you do down in the comments. But we'll see how he gets on. Certainly a decent right back who will come in as third or at least second choice, maybe behind Konsa. But Konsa's more of a centre-back, I would say. But again, another good young player to bolster the squad. Let's have a look at the dynamics then. There's only 2 team leaders here. And out of all the team guides I've done so far, this is the first team guide where there are only 2 team leaders. The crucial thing here is that Jack Grealish is 24, Tyrone Mings is 27. Both of these team leaders have got plenty of life in them yet. You've got Conor Hourihane, 29. I mean, Al Mohammadi, 32. These two will probably be moving on soon, as well as probably Neil Taylor. He's already on the transfer list. But maybe somebody like John McGinn in the future again. He's part of that core social group. I would probably expect him to be a team leader in the future. But looking at this, there's no real problem. Just don't upset Grealish or Mings is my recommendation. In terms of tactics then, I've gone with a fluid counter-attacking tactic of 4-3-3. Now, I think this really fits what is good about this Aston Villa squad. You can see we've got Ollie Watkins, Bertrand Traoré and Grealish up front, the front three. These players in the reserves, really, I would expect most of these to move on. I mean, Courtney Howes isn't really good enough, I don't think, at centre-back. He's a fringe player at the most. Neil Taylor's already on the transfer list, so is Lansbury, Jed Steer, El Mohammadi as well, who's already wanted by a few clubs. So you might be able to get rid of him. You've got Martinez in goal, who I talked about earlier. Matty Cash, Engels, Mings and Targett at the back. Now, you have got Konsa, who can play at centre-back as well. But I think Engels and Mings are the first choice, you can see. Engels and Konsa fairly interchangeable, but I think Konsa is the player that you might want to put in the bench. And then Matthew Targett as a left-back. And looking at that, there's not a lot of depth at left-back. Okay, Tyrone Mings can play at left-back, but centre-back is really his main position. So there's not a lot of depth there behind Matt Targett. You might want to look to sign somebody there. We've put Douglas Luiz in as the holding midfielder. I think that's really important when you've got 2 attacking playmakers in Barkley and McGinn are ahead of him. We've got John McGinn as the box-to-box, kind of supporting at the back and up front as well. And then we've got Ross Barkley, who really pushes up as an attacking, as an advanced playmaker. I think that really suits Ross Barkley. Now, I talked about the front three. Both of these as inside forwards. Ollie Watkins is a deep line forward. It's important not to play him too attacking because it does leave a big hole in the middle of the attacking midfield. So if you bring Ollie Watkins back slightly, then Barkley will probably fill in going back and forth here. And Ollie Watkins will obviously do the same. But I feel like it's a solid tactic. Again, with a fluid counter-attacking preset. A few positional change, the likes of Louise playing as a half-back, because it doesn't really suit him to play as a defensive midfielder on defend. I think a half-back out of all of those positions, the same roles here. That's the one that's going to fit him the most. Let's have a quick look then before we finish at the development sense, which I was talking about earlier. This is a great screen. You can see here this is a report done by your head of new youth development, Mark Harrison, who has recommended a few players here who could be first team candidates. We've got Jacob Ramsey, who's listed for loan again. Could be a potential backup for the likes of Jack Grealish and Ross Barkley. But you can see he's a long way down the list, so you're probably looking at him going out on loan. Same really goes for Keenan Davis, who has been a Villa player for a long time now. Played a little bit in the Championship, so he's got a bit of experience. Again, he has played in the Premier League as well. But maybe send him out on loan. I mean, he's on £25,000 a week, so that is a player that potentially you'd be looking to bring into the first squad. You can't have someone who's on 25k a week languishing down in the under-23s. You've also got your players to watch. This will change over time. 5 players that are currently to watch. You can see that some of these players could become really good, but we'll look at those in a minute. And this screen will also populate here of the players who need attention over time. Maybe players that need to go out on loan, players who aren't developing as hoped, maybe players who are developing more than hoped. But this is a good screen to keep an eye on. In terms of the under-23s, then, anybody to watch? We've got the goalkeeper Sinisalo. He's 18 years of age. He's out on loan at Ayr United at the moment in the Scottish Championship. He looks like a decent player. Could be alright for you in the future. Tyrick Wright, the 18-year-old, could become, again, another good winger on the left in the future. He's a long way down the pecking order, but if you look at his potential, he's sort of up there with the likes of Trezeguet, maybe not Traoré, but in that 3rd or 4th choice. So, could be a decent player, but he's already playing at sort of a championship level. Louis Barry, not the Aaron Ramsey. We've got Jacob Ramsey as well. Some solid players in this under-23 squad that you could look to develop in the future. Some players that maybe the likes of Jake Walker, sort of these players I've highlighted here, you might look to get rid of because they're not really going to develop into first team regulars, or you could develop them for a few more years and try and get a bit more bang for your buck. But the likes of Callum Rowe, he's 20 now. I can't really see him developing in the future to be a player that's going to be a big threat. Under 18 squad, again, you have to take these squads with a bit of a pinch of salt sometimes because these guys are only 16 or 17 years of age. Their potential will differ a lot to what it will actually turn out to be. In terms of this guy here, Bagard, who seems to be the biggest potential young centre-back, he could end up quite conceivably being that 4-star player. Equally, if things don't go as well, he could be a 2-star player. So, again, the under-18s, it's important to have a look at this screen over time. The loan screen is also helpful as well to have a look at players out on loan. See their stats here. There's a few suggestions at the bottom, a few players I went through as well, players who might well be good to go out for loan. You can list them for loan. They've already actually listed them for loan, which is good. And you can respond to those over time. But I think that is it for today's Aston Villa team guide. Hopefully you found it beneficial. If you have, feel free to leave a like down below. Comment your thoughts as well. And subscribe for daily Football Manager 2021 content. I am currently doing a beta save for Wolverhampton Wanderers. We're well into the 2nd season now, and I am really enjoying that. So if you are looking for an FM21 save to watch, come over to the channel and watch that. There will be a link to the latest episode in the series in the end screen that will follow this yada yada promotional crap that I'm spewing here. But as I said, if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Any questions down in the comments, feel free to leave them. And any bits of advice, let me know how your Villa save is going, all the usual stuff, etc, etc. But for now, I've been TIJ Gaming. Thank you for your company, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye for now.